You said that had probably been building up, and you get to that in the book. I would say for me personally, things started seeming strange just post election in 2016. I at the time thought, what did Obama do to half of this country to make them flip out over just losing an election? And that's probably not the correct way to analyze it, but that's just at the time, that's what I was thinking. Did you see some hints of this crazy fear stuff after 2016?
I did, but I didn't recognize it at the time. What I recognized, and I think all of us saw, was this huge divide growing between the, I was going to say left and right, but I think it's a little more specific than that. I would say it's more urban and rural. It's more those who rely on government in the big cities and those who really want to just be left alone and live their lives out in the rural areas. Now, you could call that conservative and liberal, but it's a little more subtle. I think that there are other factors. Certainly, those who are secular, those who are single, those who are very well educated, often white, women, those who live in a kind of Europeanized style of life where they take public transportation, they live in very dense housing, they eat vegan food, they're worried about cholesterol-free water. That crowd of people, which are largely coastal elites, and then those in some urban areas in Chicago and Atlanta and other large cities, even Dallas to some degree, those people are really, and as I say this since 2016, have really become quite histrionic, quite emotionally supercharged against everyone else in the country. And that everyone else is kind of represented by Donald Trump. And that was the representation in the election. And it was no longer a kind of political difference. It was actually visceral. It was a very emotionally charged, very personal form of anger and even hatred. And as I've been saying recently, sadism, the delight in humiliation, the delight in torture and pain and suffering of other people. I had never seen this before in my lifetime in politics. It rose to a supra-political level. And in fact, it accelerated over time into what I now call, or I would describe it as not a difference of opinion, difference of politics, but really a difference of reality. Mm-hmm. This crowd is now the same crowd that is arguing that men can menstruate. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not an opinion. That's not a view. That's not my experience, your experience, my truth, your truth. That's really a different reality. We're living in a world where half of the country or so believes that when you drop things from a tree, they fall and hit the ground. And the other half believes that when you drop them, they accelerate up towards the sun. I mean, that's the difference in reality that we're living in. And that started in 2016 and really accelerated after the election of Donald Trump. So it wasn't fear per se, although I can see looking back, it might have been fear of a change, but it was really driven more by anger and hatred. But I think that sometimes you can use that, and I think that's how really the government and media and corporations capitalized on it over the last 3 years. You can use that fervor, that anger, that aggressive posture as a way to cultivate fear. Because at its core, it comes from insecurity. It comes from this feeling of, I'm not really secure. I'm not really good enough. I don't really have evidence on my side. And so I'm going to preemptively attack everyone else before they get to me. And I think that really is at its core driven by fear. But I would say at the time, I thought it was more just histrionics.